Hi everyone, it's Adrienne Leah. This is going to be a quick reading. I'm at my godmother's house. I'm using my phone, so I have limited space on it. These readings that I've been getting, they've been so potent. I am amazed by the cards that came out for this reading. And before I started the reading, the grandmother energy, she was making sure that this reading got out there. She was like kind of clearing the space and looking at me to make sure that it's all set to go to make the video. Because this land is, it has a certain type of ambiance to it. For historical references, this land was the Native Americans' land, as America was before other settlers came to the country. And you'll see it in the names of the area, of this area, that there's some of the Indian influence, and places are named after the Indian nations. So this is in reference to those nations after being displaced. And that is another topic for this reading too. But I was so amazed, especially when the Angel Tarot cards came out, and I only pulled out 4 of them for this reading because you could see there's just so much going on in here, and I am going to have to switch some cards out, because you have the 15 card, which is the Devil card, with the Justice card. So Archangel Jovial, a false sense of entrapment, being overly focused on material things, negative or fear-based thoughts. With the Justice card, fair and just decisions, do what you know is right, stand up for your beliefs. And with those two being a combination in this reading, it just feels like things that were unrightfully placed on you, that happened to you, it's coming around. And as I said before, karma doesn't forget, and it does come back for compensation. Because you also have the 3 of Water, celebration, wedding, graduation, birth announcement, a need to have more fun. But there's the Balance card, which it's the balance of the inner reality and the environment. When you have the Justice and the Temperance card, a need for balance and moderation, cooperation and compromise. Wait for the perfect timing. Because yesterday the visions came up again about that dream, and when the spirit literally came to me and was pushing the baby to me to give me the child, and I was getting like, the child, you have to get the child out of there. And so, which makes sense with the 4 of Swords with those cards too, because the 4 of Swords, it is a resting card. Now it's coming out of the 3 of Swords, and the Sword suit in general can be linked to the mental state, like that capacity, the thoughts, and the way that we interact in that way with the world. But the 4 of Swords in general is also a resting state. So it can be, in a way, in this reading, since you're going off of the foundation or traditional meanings and going from there, that the those messages that you get, they mean something. It's maybe your mind or like spirit or whatever you believe in trying to give you those certain messages. So it can also be influenced by, again, the way that we feel, the way that we think, um, and how it even carries on when we go into a different state of mind. So I'll go through the Glory to Ukraine Tarot. Before I do that, I also have repeating cards. So the cards that came out of the Archangel Oracle, Indigo and Crystal Children, Archangel Metatron. You have a bond with children. In particular, you can help children who are sensitive. And then Peace, Archangel Chamiel. Peace comes from remembering that only love is real. So I'll put the cards here. So there's cards everywhere in my readings. So you have the Four of Cups. So you go from the Three of Cups to the Four of Cups. So the Three of Water is the cups. And this is a card that maybe you have to make the decision. Although that involves the mental capacity, it also, there are things that come to you that make you react a certain way. And it comes to a time where things just keep rolling in, either the same messages or the same actions or things that keep happening that make you react a certain way, to a point where you have to come to some type of conclusion or decision, and sometimes you don't want to make that decision, which comes from the King of Cups. But the King of Cups, who is a cupbearer, understands that this is the reality of things, and being able to take those things with grace. And as I said in other readings, we take our losses with grace. And just because in one person's eyes, like, it's seen as a loss, to you and to your situation, it can be seen as a win. This feels like it's a different type of influence, like when you get the Devil card with the Justice card, because it does seem like justice is being served in that regard. The other part of it is we go through life and we have to make those moves, and sometimes it can be heartfelt, where we remember those days of once what was, but then we can move forward and look forward to other happy things that will be encrypted in our memories. I was also getting the other day too, the specific thing, what's wrong with the radio? Because I saw, again, a person fixing a radio, some type of transmission. So the other cards, and one could easily say, well, you have the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Wands. And I was asking, are these one person? And then I got the High Priestess, the all-knowing High Priestess. And so that was also the validation too. Because if you have the Four of Cups, you could say, oh, well, is the Cups person choosing between other people? But it seems like, because the last reading you had fire and air, and then you have the alchemy of that. Now with the Queen of Swords ruling the mental state, it feels like the card of like a scientist, and you see that there's the bending of the swords, and it's like forging in fire, which could be linked to maybe an olden helping, like forging. Is it forging radio? But um, when we see something in our lives that needs to be adjusted, that needs to be better, you keep working on it until it's the ultimate result, which happens a lot like with medication too. A while back I was talking about it. Say Eliquiz, one of those, it's pricey, especially if your insurance doesn't cover it. And um, then it gets brought down even more, maybe if you have a manufacturer's coupon. So you have these scientists that work on these projects, these medications, in the lab for years, mistake after mistake after mistake. Finally, they get the result that they're looking for, and that comes with a price because you're putting that price tag based off of all those mistakes that were made, and that time that you spent in the lab, and the products that you use. It builds up, and that's where the price comes out of that. But it does seem like this plan that gets set into place, and that fire that gets put into it, because it's just like that determination, like this needs to get done. There was so much time and effort, and sometimes you go through those things, like there's so much time and effort on other topics where maybe it's not going anywhere because something else is in the cards. But with this, I keep getting, like, just to keep going. And again, like the child, you have to get the child. Now you can interpret that in different ways, however that child reads to you. But it does seem like there's relevance with the war. So I'll put these over here too, because I don't have room. So with the Sunflower Fields Tarot, it's interesting with this deck because it's constantly getting like the masculine energy or influence from this deck. And these energies can be linked together too. With the two knights, the Knight of Wands. I'm sorry, that's the Six of Wands and the Knight of Wands. So those two cards can be linked together. There's also the King of Cups here too. And you have the Five of Cups. So with those influences, it kind of feels like there's responsibilities that are in the works right now, but it's making steady movement because there's that relentless energy that comes from the Knight of Wands. The Knight of Wands is kind of like, sometimes the fire in that Wands archetype isn't necessarily concentrated, but it's going everywhere and doing everything. So it seems like there is an abundance of responsibility that comes out of it. But the Six of Wands is a good sign that it's the right direction. And you have the Three of Coins, the Three of Pentacles here too, where she's painting the sunflowers, and it can be seen as something that's tedious and can be where that influences on that perfect timing. Then there's the Nine of Swords that is in this reading twice. It's right under here. And with the way that the cards keep like turning to the right, it really feels like things are really pushing forward. And it, as I said, it's a good sign to keep working on things. With the Nine of Swords, it kind of feels like getting the scoop or getting those messages. And it could be the readings, it could also be sleep, since the Nine of Swords can be linked to that reality, and you have two of those types of cards with the Nine of Swords and the Four of Swords that link to rest. So quickly, I'll go through these cards. So you go from the 9 to the 10 of Swords, with the Hermit card, Hermit being major arcana, as well as the Temperance, the Justice, the Devil card, the High Priestess. Yep. So it's interesting because like this is a tarot reading, and I'm going off of what the visions and the messages that I'm getting from this. There's also a message of like factual information. Again, take that for what you will, because again, this is a tarot reading, so it's not like textbook or anything. Sometimes I talk about historical things, but other than that, I just go by what the cards are and my messages. But it could also be validating too, because what you see, what you're hearing, can be portrayed, or what's going on in your life right now, in some way, whichever area it relates to. With the Empress card, that's really linking to like the maternal energy, like the grandmother energy or the maternal energy, that type of influence. And before I was doing this reading, and I've been thinking about this a lot, because like you go through different activities growing up. So one of them was like, I had piano lessons for 13 years, and the second teacher that I had, Veronica Tapsoni, she said something like towards the end when I decided that I wasn't going to play piano anymore. And like you go through something for so long, and you're thinking that it's great that I did this, I just don't feel like this is the path that I'm supposed to take, because there was kind of a plan that went with the piano lessons. And so she said to my mother, she's like, but there's just so much potential. Why is she quitting now? And so I remember the last song that we were working on, it was Schubert Impromptu. Oh, 90, number 2. It was like 11 pages, and then you memorized them. Some of them were, they had like a pattern that you noticed, and from there you just played the music and had your recitals. So there can be a choice that's made that it feels as if, that feels like it's somebody else's life that you're trying to fulfill, or maybe there's like your parents that want you to do this with your life, but instead you're feeling like it needs to go in another direction. This is it. This is, by the way, it doesn't have to do with me doing readings because I'm perfectly happy with doing readings. I'm just saying in general that there could be a time or maybe decisions that are made where you want to do this, but someone else would prefer you doing another thing. Um, there's also the Ten of Pentacles, which can be linked to family, as I was saying. I wasn't looking at that. And the Ten of Swords can be making that decision with the Four of Cups. That something just needs to happen, or like to get the child out of there. It's kind of that type of message where, although you've spent so much time and effort and money into this one place, it might be best to experience other things if that's what you're trying to do. And again, that's a separate message from the Devil card with the Justice card. I still hold firm with that. So you have the Chariot in the past, and that could be a displacing energy with the Four of Pentacles. And this feels like gathering what you can, using what you can. It's a resourceful card, and finally getting those things that you've been needing for maybe a couple of months. It's been a little bit, or been a long time, depending on what you're doing and going through. With the Hermit card, it does feel like it's a physical and mental journey, and it can be mentally and physically draining as well, because you're trying to do all these things that maybe you haven't done before, and going to this place or going to that place and figuring out what to do when this happens. It's definitely a different phase of life. So I am really pleased with this reading. I think it's going in an amazing direction. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in another video.